Well, welcome to DTV. I'm joined by General Manager of Football Operations, Josh Mahoney, who's running through the new look football structure. Josh, good to be catching up, mate. There's been a fair bit going on at the club behind the scenes in the football department, and of course trades about to kick off. I might get you to talk about some of the changes in the football department.
Yeah, Matty, it's a busy period for the footy department with trade just around the corner, but we've been in a fortunate position probably for the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season. We started to talk about next year and some of the planning that we had, and it's a really interesting year for us during the transition year between Simon Goodwin and Paul Roux, so we want to make sure that ends up being as smooth as possible. So some changes we're making is our focus is going to be on our game style. I think we had improved in a lot of areas, but we have to continually work on our game style. So our coaches with the senior coaching team are going to be aligned to the 3 phases of the game, so around ball movement, stoppage and defensive work. And we think by having that extra focus is going to really improve that area. We also made an appointment of Craig Jennings, who's come from the Western Bulldogs and previous to that Essendon, and his experience is in teaching and learning and about game style as well. So we think that being an added resource is certainly going to help us focus on that area. So that's probably been the number one thing. The second thing is we made a lot of improvements in our development, and in that area Brendan McCartney's going to take on some more responsibilities as heading up our development area, working alongside Brett Allison and Daniel McPherson. And that's going to be a real individual focus on every player and trying to get the best out of them, not just from footy-wise, but physically as well. So that's a big change that we're making. We think that's going to show some improvement. And then also some things down at Casey Scorpions. Really pleasing that they made finals this year after a couple of lean years. We did a lot of work with them on our relationship over last season. We think that can even go further again. So yeah, a fair bit happening in the structure, and all things are going ahead at the moment, and it's all about improving us as a footy club.
You mentioned Craig Jennings. There's a real sort of emphasis on the learning environment at the footy club at the moment.
Well, while the players are at the club, they're there to learn, and we've got such a young group still, so they're still learning the game style, they're still learning how to behave as AFL players, and we've got to set up the best environment that we can. We made some changes halfway through the year. We had some consultants come in and look at our environment and suggest different things we can do. So we're just going to take that a little bit further. So things that we're looking at is just the layout of the footy department. We're making some changes there. Just the schedule, the weekly schedule, when to hold meetings, what are the best times for learning, and also the type of meetings we have. So working with the coaches on their teaching styles, how they can get a message across. So we started to do it a little bit in the second half of the year with some good results, and the players really took to that. So just further improving that as well.
How did it all sort of come about, the change? What was it more to do with the handover, I guess, from Rousey to Simon Goodwin, or was it just part of the evolution of the game?
I think it's just when you get some coaches that have come from different clubs and people from different clubs, and you throw all the suggestions into melting pot and you come up with what's the best thing for Melbourne Footy Club, and that was an area that we thought we could really get a real competitive advantage. If we can maximise the time that our players are at the club, it's getting harder and harder to get time at the club with some of the restrictions that are placed on how often you can have the players actually in your environment, so you've got to make sure you're maximising all the time you can. So probably started from that discussion, and then from there it built from there. So that's probably how it started initially.
Do you expect additional people to come in, or is it pretty much set with the guys that are in there at the moment?
I think from now the only change that we've made was with Brad Miller leaving, and really pleasing that he got an opportunity at GWS a couple of weeks ago. But we brought in Daniel Cross, and he's in a bit of a different role to what Brad Miller was, but more suited to his skill set. He's going to be working in the development area, but also he's got a sports science degree, so he's going to work in our rehabilitation area with players as well. So that was really exciting to get Daniel to join the club again as a staff member. What he was able to do as a player was really good for our club over 2 years, and we're fortunate that he's staying, and we really think it's a great role for him, and we're committed to developing him in that area as well.
Do you expect it to change again when Simon actually takes over as senior coach, or is this pretty much how it will run into when he starts as the main?
I think there will be changes again. I think every year on year you're making some changes. You're looking at areas that you haven't done well. What are your areas you're really good at? So we'll be looking at it throughout the year and in discussions with Simon and with Paul. And how the structure's going, what little tweaks we might have to make during the year, but certainly looking towards what the next year looks like as well. So it's probably going to go in a few different stages.
And any sort of talk about Roosie, what he'll do at the end of next year? Is he sort of, he's talked maybe about staying on. Is there any sort of talk at this stage?
We haven't had any formal chats yet on what that role would look like. I think what people have to know is Roosie sees this as his last year as being a senior coach of an AFL club, and he's putting all his efforts into getting the best out of that. So his role will slightly change again next year. He's going to really spend a lot more time with the staff and the players, trying to work harder and harder on building our culture and making sure that everyone's clear on their roles. And he's already really looking forward to that. And we see the succession plan being a really competitive advantage for us. But all the things we've set up over the time with Paul, and this will be his third year, is going to be hopefully flow into Simon's first couple of years in the job.